So the attraction between human beings can really be said. If one was to look at how is it that we interact, this poet named Red gonna break it down. You see, I'm attracted to your mindset.
Welcome back to another episode of Attractive Mindset, where we go back into the story of all of our guests and we want to see how they got to where they are now. And basically today's guest, listen, unmatched when it comes to titles, so many different titles, so many different talents. But what I mainly know her for is definitely her heart, how she touches people when she enters a room, her energy, the energy that she's willing to give you, put you on her platforms and just spread the love, author, cosmetics, host, everything in the book. We have Miss Frankie Wordz.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I love how you combine my name actually, because it's Frankie Red, right, as my personality name, but then I'm a poet, so I'm Red Wordz. Mm-hmm. So you did Frankie Wordz. Mm-hmm. That's pretty dope. It's pretty dope. I'm excited to be here. Thank you for having me. And congrats on this amazing setup and amazing show from one media to another. Facts. Right. I just think that we have to support each other, love on each other. What I'm saying, exchange energy, and that's to me the biggest part of being in media. So I just really want to say thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And so give them a quick rundown on, a little bit about what you do, who you are exactly, and, where you're from.
So I'm from Broward, right? I was born in Miami, raised in Broward. I have a northern accent because my family's from New York. My family's from Jersey. I went there many summers and winters. So I was influenced by the culture of New York. And I wanted to be so different every time I came back that I actually studied the accent. And now it's a part of me. So it's crazy because
I'm from New York and I didn't even know you were here. You were from here. Yeah. I thought you was born over there.
Yeah, no, it's a common misconception. But all of my family's still over there. My brother, my sister, my cousins, my aunt. So it's enough for me to feel like I'm from there. My family did live there at one point as well. But to me, it just wasn't long enough to have an impact to say that I'm from the Bronx or say I'm from Trenton. So I was born in Miami, raised in Broward. I was in Miami as a child, so my upbringing kind of played a role into who I am because I wear so many hats, as you so eloquently stated, and have so many different titles. So for me, it's my upbringing and moving around and, my ability to adapt to any environment kind of plays into that. So I am a poet, author, media personality, and creative entrepreneur all around. Really what I do is creative relations. So it's a mixture between public relations and creative content, right? I don't want anyone to ever box me into something. And I never like to box in my clients either. So I branded the concept of creative relations. So instead of people calling me their PR, I literally make them say, I'm your CR, right? Because I create. And as a creative director, as a visionary, as someone who I was a dancer first. That kind of led me into other pathways. I played trumpet in school. I was in symphonic band, jazz band. My dad is a musician, professional percussionist, traditional Latin instruments, but nonetheless an amazing percussionist. And it's always been a part of me, to be creative and to be into many different things. The first time I joined a club, like in school, was 5th grade. And for most people, when I say that, they're like, what? They had clubs in elementary school. And it's like, of course, I was in student government. Like, weren't you? So when I did student government in 5th grade, I was the secretary. And I just love that dynamic of working in a team, having something else to do besides going straight home. I always wanted to be busy. So I think it played into, like I said, who I am today because I moved around so much from Miami to Broward, having family up north. I always was able to adapt to any environment. I am Dominican, so my roots are very
que lo que.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? De lo mío, you know what I'm saying? So for me, it's like I wear who I am really on my sleeve. I'm a multifaceted creative, and I never want people to just think of me as a dancer or just as a poet. Even how I got my name, I was read on the dance floor just read.
Mm.
And so when I started to perform poetry, I've always been a poet, but I've never performed. So I was always writing poems and just vaulting them. And I've been writing since I was like 7. So I got my first journal when I was actually in kindergarten. So I started by journaling, and then those journals turned into like a flow. And then it turned into poems. It turned into rap. I used to rap when I was younger. I was real involved in church. So a lot of my poems, if you will, turned into like gospel music. So again, just always being a creative, being an actress. My parents, bless them both. They're still with me, but they played a big role into who I am too, because they always supported anything I wanted to do. So if I said, hey, Mom, I want to try out for the track team. Guess you got to warm up. Guess you got to start training. Hey, Mom, I want to be in trumpet or in band. I want to play the trumpet. Go ahead. So they always supported anything positive. And that kept me very active as a kid, as a teenager, as a young lady, as a college student, and now as a full grown adult. So I'm on brand since 1993.
And so when you say a dancer and a poet, what kind of styles were you really into, especially with the dancing, and what kind of poetry? Because we do know that there's differences.
Yes, that's a great question. I'm a freestyler.
Ooh.
So in all realms, right? So when I did acting, I was in the improv troupe. So with improv, that's freestyling, right? It's a freestyle theater term, basically.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm funny naturally, I guess. So my teachers and my peers saw that in me. I was always a class clown. And so I embraced that so much. So when I started to do my poems really, like, I could write you a poem right now. And like, just no thought, just my pen speaks. And it's the same as freestyling out loud. I call it free writing, right? Because you write it. So it's just the thoughts literally transferring to paper. So in poetry, that is officially referred to free verse, right?
So wait, I'm going to pause you real quick.
Uh-huh.
Let's test that. Hey, I'm going to give you a topic: attraction, freestyle.
Okay, tell me again.
Attraction.
That is my topic.
Yep.
Okay. So the attraction between human beings can really be said. If one was to look at how is it that we interact, this poet named Red gonna break it down. You see, I'm attracted to your mindset because I enjoy the way that you think. And every time that you blink, when you close your eyes and you look to God and try to find where is the surprise, you may find that you will find your demise, but that is not what you want to attract. So I tell you to subtract negativity, fill it up with positivity so we can revamp our thoughts into what it is that we are doing, just flowing and going as I'm going through this poem, letting you know how I feel because my words were meant to heal. So attraction, yes. Distractions, no. And who knows, this poem might change a life or two. So I just hope that it spoke to you.
Ooh, okay. Hey, listen, we put her on the spot, and that's what happened,
And that was, probably a little wonky, but it just comes, and I to me that's God sent. It's a true gift, and I don't take it for granted. I'm humbled in my talent, but I'm also honored to be able to do it. So as a dancer, same thing, freestyle dancer. Most of my style was fusion dancing. So I'm a trained bachata, salsa, merengue, actual dancer. My godfather was a professional salsero, and he used to teach salsa 1 and on 2. So New York style and LA styles, 2 different styles of salsa, and basically 2 different speeds. And so I admired him a lot. My godfather is basically like my second dad. And that style of dance, being that I'm so, connected to my roots and my culture, were always embedded in me. But then, of course, I'm American. So hip hop, can't deny it,
Absolutely.
So I was always around street dancers, B-boys, B-girls. I can't spin on my head or nothing like that, but I could do a good level of breaking, a good level of hip hop, contemporary dance. I was even a jazz dancer, a majorette in high school. It's probably one of my favorite styles of dance is majorette. So anytime I see, the HBCU girls coming out, and I'll be right there with them. I'll be right there with them.
Facts.
So yeah, I dibbled and dabbled in different styles, but my strongest suit is freestyle in all my art forms. As a media personality, I freestyle the questions. As a poet, I freestyle my poems. As a dancer, I freestyle my dance. As a comedian, I freestyle my jokes or my comedy or my skits or whatever. And even I would say as a mentor to people, like that comes in the moment. And to me, it's God sent. Like I'm really connected to God. I'm not really religious, but I'm very spiritual, raised Christian. But I'm a just faithful believer in God. I talk to him. I live alone. It's just me and my dog, so it's just me, my dog, and God. And I talk to God a lot. And we communicate. And when I feel something or when I doubt something, I lean in on either my talents to get me out of that darkness or God to get me through whatever it is that I'm going through. And a lot of times that's through spoken word. You know what I'm saying? Like even what I just spit for you now, for whatever reason, it always goes into an inspirational realm. You know what I'm saying?
It was nice.
So, did you enjoy it? Was that
it was okay, cool. And so, just analyzing a little bit of what you're saying, I definitely feel this free spirit type of element. And in that, I can definitely understand what's the word for it? I can definitely understand the on the spot kind of, I just go with the flow because, even us prior talking, like, hey, do you need any, questions from me or anything like that? I'm like, nah, I'm gonna just have a conversation with you. You know what I'm saying? And a lot of people do end up scripting things in their life that not necessarily meant to be scripted because you can find out a lot from somebody by just having a conversation. And so it's always been that way with you, just being able to talk to you, be transparent, you open and it's a good time. It's a good conversation. It's always good vibes, good energy. And that's why, you're a great individual to just be around and you're also creative, but you also have the business starts. And so what I want to ask is, was it hard for you to really start connecting some of that creativity? Because those are two different sides of your brain. I know a lot of creatives have trouble, advancing in business or vice versa. A lot of business people aren't that creative. And so now taking your talents and making them a professional thing for you, how's that going for you?
It's been amazing. I feel very blessed to be able to do what I love for a living. It didn't start this way. People think that, when they see you, they're like, man, she been grinding all her life. And it's like, I have, but I did have a corporate job. I did work in politics. I was like an educator at one point, not a full-time teacher, but I'm still actually teaching. But there was a point in my life where I did more teaching than anything else. There was another part of my life where I did more dance instructing than anything else. So I've had, what do they call those? Seasons? I've had seasons. Okay. And I'm now in my season of embracing all things. Embracing all things Frankie Red. Was it a struggle? Yes. I still struggle with it. I have a phenomenal team behind me. People that support me, people that help me. And I think people lose sight of the importance of a team. And to me, it's very important to recognize that having a team is vital. Having a team not only allows you to cover more ground, but it also allows you to expand and do more because you have individuals who are there backing you to do other tasks. So for example, my assistant, right? Shout out to A-Rod. She's been my friend since 5th grade. That's my longest running friend. I have friendships that go back that I've never let go, and I'm really proud of that. Most people have beef, smoke with people around them, let alone people from their past. So for me to be able to still have those relationships, it makes a big difference in the business part. I will say this, when I left corporate America, I was very grateful to have that corporate background because it allowed me to treat my creative business very corporate like. So when I started and I was sending people invoices and they was getting mad at me, I didn't care. If you couldn't accept an invoice from me, I had to not do business with you. Because why can't you accept an invoice? What is so harmful about such a thing? It's just documentation so I know that you know that you owe me some money. And when you pay me, I'm going to send you a receipt. So now you don't I don't have this hanging over you. So I remember in my early stages, I was sending I had a regular weekly gig, and I would always send him an invoice. And one day he told me, the curator of the event was like, "Hey Frankie, you ain't gotta send me invoices, I'm gonna pay you." I said, "I know, but I still want this documented." You know what I'm saying? So to me, running it like a corporate business or corporation, excuse me, that cleans up the mess. And a lot of creatives have a lot of mess. People owe you money. You might not have paid your taxes. Maybe you didn't do a W-9. You don't even know what that is. You know what I'm saying? You don't have your paperwork right. And I deal with a lot of clients and a lot of different what's the word I'm looking for? A lot of different clients, but they're all in different sectors, right? So industries. So Beyond Brunch, for example, that's a client. That's hospitality and entertainment. F&D, that's another client, right? That is fashion and retail. Cure Beauty Spa, that's another client. Again, retail space, but more on the beauty side, and medical, because she's a medical spa. So, and that's just 3 from the, my portfolio of about 14, 15 clients. But even the rest of those, they all vary. And I don't sign non-competes because I believe in being able to create for anyone at any given moment, unless you really paying that check, So I could be a host for your event and be a host for someone else's event, because I'm going to give you the same service, but tailored to your needs. So that corporate background allows me to do that. If I was just being creative all the time, I'd be all over the place. So there has to be some type of structure, some type of format, and every client is different than the next. You know what I'm saying? And for me to be able to be successful, you have to run your business like a legitimate business. Even my friends, I will tell my assistant, hey, can you send them an invoice for this amount, line item, everything that I did, just transparency. Because now when we do business again in the future, I can reference those things and say, well, you know what? Let me pull up your profile and see what did we do last year. I see here that we did a photo shoot for you. We did a press kit for you. Oh, wow. We even did your website. So how's your website looking? Are you good? Do you need any updates to that? You do? Okay, that has a fee. Hey, how is it? So everything is pragmatic. Even when you go on my website, everything is pragmatic. You know what I'm saying? It has all the parts of me, the poet me, the merch, the cosmetics, everything. And you go to what drives you, right? Because my brand has so many different facets. And it's a gift and a curse, because being creative, your mind is always developing new ideas. But being business oriented, you know how to hone in on that. And I love, one of my strengths is being a closer. I have a great ability to talk to people, get them to reason with me and understand my vision. And it's their vision through my lens. So it's never my thing. I always serve to the pleasure of my clients. When I worked in politics, we had a slogan, which is actually a real thing, that we work to the pleasure of the House Speaker. I used to work at the House of Representatives as a press secretary and a secretary to an actual House rep. That was an experience.
I want you to talk about that experience, because everything you've said up until now has been creative politics.
Yeah, I know. So I worked in politics straight out of college. That was my first big girl job. And I went to Broward College. Then I transferred to FIU once I got my AA. And one of the things that drew me to that career was I was doing the newspaper.
What'd you study in school?
So I studied broadcast journalism.
Got it.
It's in my purpose, right? I studied broadcast journalism, radio and TV broadcasting first, and then I did the broadcasting track. So radio was still a part of the basics, but I knew I wanted to be seen. And they tell you that in J school. You have to choose from the beginning. Do you want to write or do you want to be broadcasted? So I chose broadcasting. Then when you go to that, and there's a new level. You want to be seen or you want to be heard? And I'm like, wow. So I want to do both. I don't want to pick one, but I'm going to get the knowledge of being seen, because being heard is easy. But being seen is different, because when you're seen, you're more vulnerable. you know. So my journey in politics was interesting. So I met a representative while being a college student. Only 2 students were selected from all of Broward College, which was like 60,000 students at the
Oh
time,
wow.
to meet with the board of trustees, and I was one of 2. And at the time, actually, my boyfriend at the time was the other one. So it's
Oh
like we were like
wow.
star students, like a star couple. It was great. So we're at this breakfast. It's just us with like all these people in suits, and we're like, what the hell are we doing here? Like what are we gonna talk about?
Mhm.
So I what did I do? I was the editor in chief of the newspaper at my college, and I was editor in chief for about 2 years. And so my thing as the editor in chief, my goal was to bring up readership by bringing more interesting stories.
Mm.
So I didn't want to just cover the board of trustees breakfast. I did. There was an article about it, but I was like, this is like, who cares? Let's go deeper. So I actually started to interview the board of trustees as like personal profiles. And I said, get to know your board of trustees. And I dedicated like a half-page column to each of them. And I asked them really quirky questions like, what is the first thing you do when you wake up in the morning? And someone gave me their crazy schedule. Someone else told me how they go to the bathroom and do exercises to try to pass gas. So it's like, it was like very interesting to see the difference in the dynamic. And that's a crazy thing that people do also. It's like, is that really on your agenda? Like, yes, like, there's certain exercises to pass gas. So I don't have to pass gas throughout the day. It's like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, that happens when I do yoga.
Oh, see, so that's your process. Like, so it was interesting, and it was fun to see the board actually give me feedback, and it was the Broward delegation. So little did I know that the Broward delegation were obviously elected officials from Broward County that served on our board of trustees. And so when I interviewed one particular gentleman, his name is Chevron Jones, who I used to work for. And he just had this light to him. He was just so vibrant. Right now, still, he's a huge figure, all over the news. He's always talking on behalf of the people, and I love his passion for politics. So, I kind of dove into his story, into why he chose politics a little bit. And so after that breakfast, I graduated. Whatever, it was like I was already graduating. It was coming up. And so I was working at Student Life. I used to work in Student Life at Broward College for the whole time I was there. So for like 3 years, I worked there. I did my AA for 2 years. Then I did study abroad for an additional year in Peru. So again, always moving cultures, things like that. And so I was nervous, Rich. I was like, I'm going to lose my job because I graduated. And the thing with Student Life is you have to have that first word, student. You got to be a student to work at Student Life, or you got to be a full-time employee. There were no full-time opportunities available. And so I remember telling my supervisor at the time, I said, I don't know what I'm going to do. This is my last week. And she's like, you're going to figure it out, baby. Don't worry. I was a waitress before being, in college. I took a year off after high school, and that was my best skill set. That's all I knew. After being a waitress, I went straight into having a job at Broward College. And so what do you think I'm thinking when I leave? I got to go back to being a waitress. So, and to me, that was like not really going backwards because I felt I'm still young. It's okay. But I'm like, dang, I don't want to graduate and I'm being a waitress. Like, I want to do something with everything I learned, with all this knowledge I just soaked up for 2 years. And so the day, I kid you not, God loves me. He don't play about me. He really don't. He really loves me. I got a phone call that day from a guy saying, hi, is this Frankie Rosso? And I was like, yes. Who's this? Oh, this is such and such. I work for Chevron Jones. And he told me about you and this and that. And we actually have a position available.
Wow.
As a press secretary. I said, there's no way. There's no way. I just said, I spoke out loud that I want to do something within my career. I was already a political columnist. I already had a natural affinity to politics because I enjoyed reading and learning about it. And government was one of my favorite subjects. And so I felt like it was natural for me to land there. So I asked, what does the job entail? and it fit. And literally the following week, like, so I left that. I had 3 more days left of that week. It was a Wednesday. And that Friday, packed up everything. On Monday, the following week, I literally started.
Wow.
Literally. So I didn't even apply for the job. The job came to me because of my tenacity, because of my ability to speak to people. If I would have just been there like a perfect student, talk to me, that might not have happened. But because I said, well, we're at this breakfast already, this is boring as hell, and I want to write about it, I made an opportunity for myself. And that job, I stayed there for 4 years. I served for 4 years. And so the slogan I was telling you about, I don't think I ever said it, is we're taught that we work to the pleasure of the Speaker of the House, right? So I've taken that same mindset into my brand with my clients. Sorry. I work to the pleasure of my clients, right? So if you don't like something, I'm not going to do it. But I am going to advise you and consult you as best as I can. And if I can sway you to change your mind, I will. If you're hardball, I won't. But then I'm going to show you why your way didn't work. And sometimes I'm proven wrong too, but not often. I'm usually right. Because if you're contacting me, it's because there's a problem. Otherwise, you wouldn't need PR or CR or any R's, right? You wouldn't need anything related. You wouldn't need any creative content. You wouldn't need anything. You would just be your business. So that experience was really interesting, really dope. I went back and forth to Tallahassee all the time. When House was in session, I had to move to Tallahassee for like 3 months. My parents lived in Jacksonville at the time. So it's pretty, I mean, that's still a distance, but it was cool to be able to go and make those long road trips and enjoy being at the Capitol. And at the time, I was also the youngest press secretary in the history of Florida. Wow. And that was a really cool fun fact. I got like a little plaque gift out of it and everything. And I was very honored by that because I said I was only 20 and I was working for the House of Representatives, the Florida House of Representatives. And to me, that was like, this isn't real, So that experience tailored me into having a very professional, having to be, super on top of things, accountable, punctual, all the things that you look for in a great candidate for a job or an opportunity. And it also made me realize how crazy the world is, because there was a lot of things I saw that I wish I didn't see or knew that I wish I didn't know of how politics work behind the scenes.
Oh, yeah.
And that kind of made me pull back a little bit. So when I left my job there, it wasn't nothing that happened. I just knew I can't expand here. I was starting to be a poet while still working there. And the thing with when you work for the government, you have to ask permission, like a written permission request form, to have another job. So no matter the job.
Do you believe in like horoscopes and affirmations and stuff like that?
I do, yes.
Okay. What's your sign?
I'm a Gemini, gang, gang, gang.
Okay.
So it explains kind of why I'm like two sides.
Okay. So explain to us what a Gemini is, because I'm not that familiar with horoscopes. I know like the names, but I don't know any deeper than that, really.
So most people say like, oh, Geminis, two-faced, which is such an unfortunate thing attached to us, but some are. But the thing with Geminis is we do have two personalities. We are two different people. And depending on which side you flip is the coin side that you get. So, being a Gemini for me is cool to be able to balance two things. I'm able to be going back to that professional creative meter. I'm able to be professional and I'm able to be creative. Even like I was saying earlier, when I was working in politics, my personality was loud. I wore loud colors. I had the most colorful blazer, bracelets, earrings, hoops. And I remember people being like, why are you wearing that? It's like, I don't care. Like, I'm still professional. I'm not wearing a freaking croc top. I'm not wearing shorts. So I'm still going to be me. So that's also very Gemini, because Geminis, we're very creative. We're very in our ways. We have a real eclectic look for the most part. I'm a June Gemini too. So it makes a difference if you're a May Gemini. June 11.
Okay, I have a best friend. His birthday is June 3rd. He's a Gemini, and y'all remind me of each other.
Look, see, you're nodding your head and laughing. That's what happens. And like my personality has even followed me throughout all my job, like my career transitions. After politics, I went into construction management, which is like, how the hell did you end up there? But again, opportunities, people just looking for me for my talents and what I do. I worked in the cannabis industry. And that Gemini part of me allowed me to be in those places, because if I was just stuck in one mind frame or one way of how to do things, I wouldn't be able to fit in any room and adapt to any environment. So going from politics to construction management to the cannabis industry to radio to now everything I do full time, I didn't have a voice working in politics. I started to get silenced. And like I said, that permission slip form was affecting me, because I wasn't about to submit a permission slip to practice my First Amendment right, which is freedom of speech. And I felt like it kept conflicting with that. So Geminis were also very stubborn. And my boss at the time was telling me that was creating a problem for him, because, I work also to represent him. So anything I do kind of represents his ideologies, or it's almost like I'm speaking on behalf of the office. And it's like, I'm Frankie Red. I'm not, District 101 Francesca Rosso only. Right. So separating that, I think if I would have been perhaps another sign, maybe I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wrote it out as long as I could, being a poet and working in politics. But when I saw that it was becoming a clash, and I didn't want to, I always wanted to do right by Chevron, and I still do to this day. We're still friends. And I didn't want to do anything to jeopardize his campaign, his image, his beliefs. He's a very man of his faith. His father's a pastor. Father was a mayor. It was important to me to branch out and do my own thing. So being in construction management was my first taste of entrepreneurship, because I was, for the first time, a contractor, right? And that's the most money I've ever made. In that job, I made like $75,000 a year. Ooh. And I was 21. To a 21-year-old, that's a lot of money.
Balling at 21.
Yeah, so again, going back to your question on Gemini, if I didn't have the ability to balance, I hated that job. I hated that place. I couldn't stand it. It was spreadsheets all day, pragmatic thinking all day, reports all day, payroll all day, working with accounts payable all day. It was awful. But I did what I had to do to get my money up so I could build this brand that you know and love today. And being a Gemini, I feel, and I love that question, because I've never been asked that before, I think plays a big role. And I tell people a lot about that. You must have read that energy off of me, that, I tell people about being a Gemini, and it's a talking point for me very often, because it's why I am the way I am. We have, even if you read up on the sign Gemini, we are very creative. We are born leaders. We are, so I've always been in a leadership role. When I was a dancer, I was the captain. When I was in band, I was the lead trumpeter. When I was in softball, I was one of the co-captains. So I've always been in a leadership position, not because that's my MO per se. It just really seriously just comes naturally. And I think that people gravitate to me because I care about people. I'm an empath. So I take their energy. If something negative happened to you, I take that energy. If something positive happened to you, I also take that energy. So I, as an extrovert, I, literally strive off of other people's energy. I can find it within myself too. So it makes me kind of an ambivert. People don't really know about that one, because it's an introvert and an extrovert together. But if you get to know me, like just me without all my titles, I'm really not the same as I am on stage. So I'm a whole nother person.
And so combining all the talents that you have, being able to do everything that you do, and being able to become this well-rounded creative that's really good at business because of your backgrounds and everything, do you find it that a lot of, especially male-dominated industries, and some of these industries that you're in, are intimidated by you?
Absolutely, 1,000%. Yes. Being a woman is hard. It's hard. If you and your girl, let's just say hypothetical, are having a baby and she loses the baby. It's going to be hard for you too. But the woman, it happened to you. It's within your body. You feel less than. You feel like something's wrong with you. It could literally be maybe your sperm wasn't good enough. But as a woman, we internalize. Being a woman is so hard. Like even days, and I love to talk about periods because it's something that gets washed under like it's not real. We have to walk around life being punched in our stomach for days at a time. Just think about that. Think if I was just throwing bricks at your abdomen area for 14 days or maybe 7 or maybe 5 out of the month. You ain't gonna like that. But I still gotta smile. I still gotta sit up with posture. Still have to be professional. I'm not allowed to be angry, upset. If I am, you're gonna call me out on it. If something's wrong with me, you're gonna say I didn't get laid. Like, dang. I can't just be, because you have no idea what I'm going through, because it's also disgusting. It's also a topic that people don't like to, everyone's so disgusted by periods, but it's such a natural, real thing. And the only reason I'm an advocate for it is because I am fully all woman. And these are my truths. So yes, men are often intimidated by me, but I have a softness to me that's only in the beginning until they get to know me. For the most part, I don't have like what they call it, like resting bitch face. I don't have that. I have resting smiley face, right? So I'm always happy. And people know that about me. They know I'm always happy. They know I'm a positive person. So I don't have an issue with people approaching me. But I think once I'm in my bag of creativity and I get to executing on things, that's when the intimidation begins. Like, oh, well, she really knows what she's talking about. Like, we're really going to do it her way. Again, yeah, why'd you call me here? So we could do it your way that hasn't been working. There's no other reason. And then I'm very headstrong. So I love to talk things out. There's a lot of people that actually don't like that. Most people, if they have a problem with you, it's easier for them to run.
Absolutely. It's
more difficult for them to stay and talk it out. I believe one of my greatest talents is my conflict resolution skills. If you and I have big beef, I want to big fix it. And if we still have big beef after, one of two things. Either I didn't use the proper verbiage to try to get us to see eye to eye, or something is just wrong with you. Because I always find a way. Now, it's obviously I'm not perfect because there's no such thing. But I don't even have issues with people like that. You know what I'm saying? Like my reputation really speaks for itself. Like people trust me. People love me. But it's because I trust people. I love people. I speak greatness into others. Others speak greatness into me. I have a quote that I live by, Rich, and it's do right and right will be done by you. And I've always done right. And I told you, like I said earlier, God don't play about me. No, so he always does right by me. So yeah, in male-dominated industries, it could be very difficult, especially as an MC. People don't understand, like, we have so much that's against us. It's already like, one, it's like, if you're successful and you work with other males, they think that you slept your way to the top. If you are in a leadership position and the other leaders are males, they also think that you slept your way to the top. If you have counterparts or subordinates that are males, they think that they're your exes or that you smashed them. It always goes back to sex. And it's like, dang, that just can't be my homie, like my boy. And then sometimes it is that. Sometimes, yeah, that was an ex from years ago, but we have a great friendship, right? Or it could be, yes, that was someone I had a problem with, but we fixed it, you know? So I think the ability to have conflict resolution skills is something that every entrepreneur should have, because you're always going to have conflict and you're always going to have to develop solutions. Does that answer your question?
It definitely did. Okay. And so with you being the way you are, you know, majority happy most of the time or all of the time, when you have a bad day, what does that look like for Frankie? Like, you know, because I can only imagine it's like the bottle effect. You're filled with happiness all the time. And then this one thing just throws you off. How do you react to that?
When I'm in the dumps, I'm really in the dumps. I cry a lot. That's one thing about me that people don't know. I'm a crybaby behind closed doors. I'm always like, And then behind closed doors, I cry a lot. To me, crying is therapeutic. You let it out. You wash away, literally tears, right? Water. You wash away agony. And I do a lot of like, if I'm really like having a bad day, because I'm a poet, I have the ability to write about it. So if it's not a poem, it's a journal. If it's not a journal, it's a poem. Talk to God. A lot of laying down, looking up at the ceiling. What's my next move? There's been months, where I didn't know how I'm gonna get my rent. Being an entrepreneur, you got to keep going. You can't stop because you always got to get that bag. And I've lived in the same condo for 10 years. And I'm very proud of that because it's my longest residence. When I was in high school, I was actually homeless, with my family. We really struggled. My mother got laid off. My dad became old of age. His knees got bad, couldn't work the same. He used to do tiles. And he's an amazing, not architect, but carpenter. And my dad is super great with his hands, and it started to affect his health. And so that started to affect the household, So I was lead of household at age 18, being a waitress. You know what I'm saying? So I've always had to figure it out. You could cry and be sad, but there's a moment for that. Once you're done, you got to get up and fix it. There's no such thing as sitting around for me. Like, if something happens right now in my life where it's like, oh my God, what am I going to do tomorrow? No, what am I going to do today? Because tomorrow's already coming. Tomorrow's already here. It's already tomorrow. It's already the next day. Yesterday is today. That's how I look at it. Because I always want to be ahead. If you're behind on life, that's how things pile up on you. And that's how you come into a depression. And I've had phases, like when DJ Frosty died, shout out to my DJ, rest in peace. I took that very hard, especially because we had a fallout close to his passing. And I was really trying to solve the problem and reaching out and, hey man, like let's try to figure this out. Like, I got a lot of love for you. It shouldn't be like this. He was my DJ for 7 years. And we had a very minor disagreement. And it was like so minor that it wasn't worth not being friends in the end. And then he passed. And that really hurt me. And the day he passed, literally, the day after his funeral, not the day after he passed, the day after his funeral, I had a big gig where I had to host a pool party for 4 days. Shout out to Curvy Ventures. That's still my client to this day, 5 years later. Wow. But imagine that. Like you have this weight. Your DJ of 7 years just passed away. You can't believe it. You're thinking about the fact that you guys weren't, together through the end. I did a piece for him at his funeral. You know what I'm saying? So it was like, now I got a host. And you know what? I hosted. I had to turn it off. But I'm telling you, soon as I got in my hotel room, waterworks. But no one needs to see that side of me. No one needs to see when I'm down. I put my best face forward. They always say put your best foot forward. I put my best face forward. Because again, just like that college track, I want to be seen. I want to be seen. I want to be felt. I want to be heard. And that's why I'm in so many different realms. Another thing I do to answer that question also is talk to my mom. My mom is a big part of my sanity and my zen. I love my mom. My mom is precious to me. She could be a little crazy sometimes, you know what I'm saying? But for the most part, my mom gives me really good advice. My mom's always on my side, and sometimes she be dead wrong being on my side because I know I'm dead wrong. And she's still like, yeah, baby, they wrong for that. You don't need them. Fuck them. I don't know if I could curse on this. Yeah, I'm sorry. But she'll be like, yeah, like, fuck them. Like, you don't need them. You don't need that shit in your life. And in my mind, I'm like, no, mom, that's not the right thing. But she got my back so hard, it don't matter. She in the paint for me. My mom, look, if I need to handle some, my mom gonna handle it. Okay, she gonna be right there with me doing the crimes. But I love my mom. And anytime I get sick, that's who I call. Anytime I'm sad or down, if it's appropriate to talk to her about it, I do. I'm the first person in my family to go to college. First person in my family to have their own business at this capacity. Because my dad did have his own business in tiles and things like that. So not the first entrepreneur per se, but the first entrepreneur in this realm, right? Of creativity, of media. And so sometimes my problems are unrelatable. Like I can't really talk to her about my client, because she's not gonna understand that, And that's not to call my mother, ignorant or anything, but just it's not in her purview for her to really guide me. So sometimes I have to bottle some things up. And then, like I said, I keep a small circle too. So like, just like that assistant I was telling you about, I call her a lot.
Great.
She helps me figure things out. I vet things, through my team. Shout out to Positivity Pays, my nonprofit organization. Brandon Freeney is someone real near and dear to me. He's not only a business consultant, but he's my best friend. So imagine having a best friend that's a business consultant. It's like,
yeah.
That's a good friend to have. You feel me? Phoenix, what I'm saying, who's here with me today. Phoenix is also a huge support system to me whenever I have an issue. Sometimes me and him might have an issue. So guess who's not qualified to talk to Phoenix now? It ain't Phoenix. But I have to go somewhere else and seek the proper guidance and come back and, be able to mend that. And all the relationships, partnerships, and things I've had are 5 years plus, what I'm saying? And until this day, knock on wood, I've never been fired. I've never been let go. There was a part of my life where I had like a separation with a brand, but then we came back together. Again, conflict resolution. I'm all about that. Like, there's no need for me to die with foes. Never. There's no reason. There's one person in the world that I hate, but I'm going to leave that alone.
And so do you feel like you would still be you if you were born anywhere else? Not in New York, not Miami.
Not in New York, not in Miami. No. Because if I was born in, give me a random state.
Utah.
Wow, that's the first thing I thought too. I thought one of the Dakotas, and then I thought Utah. That's so funny that you chose Utah. If I was born in Utah, right, I'm not Utanian. I don't know if that's how you say it. Is that how you say Utah? I'm not Utanian, but hey, Utahnians.
I think we just created
Utahnians, yeah. If y'all ain't got one, I just want to coin it right here on this show. Utahnians or Utanians. Y'all let me know which one y'all like better. But yeah, if I were from Utah, again, I don't have friends from there. I'm not from there, so I don't know. But I don't think I'll be able to be the way I am. Being from Florida is a blessing, and being from New York is a blessing, because those are two polar opposite states, but they're both melting pots. Being Dominican, you have a lot of stigmas attached, right, to you. Being Latina in general, right? And then being a woman, you already have a lot of stigmas and other things attached to you. Now when I go and I say I'm Afro-Latina, now that has stigmas and things. So everything in me already has that. So I don't know if where I would have been born, how that would play out, because there's only so many Dominicans probably in Utah, or even in Texas. It's a small population. But I come to Florida now, and I'm with my people. Alapata is all us. You know what I'm saying? You go to New York, the Bronx, we own the Bronx, right? So Manhattan, like you keep going to different places, you're going to find your community. So I'm grateful that even though I've had to move around a lot between Miami, Broward, up north, I've always found my community. So that's a really mind-boggling, really dope question. I don't know. I really don't know. I don't know. The answer could be yes. I will be the same because of my actual cultural background, being Dominican, being a first generation American on my dad's side and all of that. But then it could also be like, maybe not. Maybe I would be the same. Or excuse me, maybe I won't be the same because the surroundings. So that's a really great question. Do you ask that to all your guests?
Absolutely not.
Oh, okay. That's a good like all around question. I might gotta quote Rich and be like, this is a really rich question. Woo! See what I did there? See what I did there?
Shout out.
That's what I'm gonna say on my podcast. I'm gonna tag you in that little clip.
Do you have kids, or do you want kids?
Where's Glitter? Glitter, come here, baby. Look at my baby. This is my kid right here who needs a haircut. This is all I have right now. This is my baby. She is so good. I love Glitter to death. All right, get down. Go back in your bag. Go get down. She's great. I love my dog.
Mm.
Most people that have dogs love their dog, but not how I love my dog.
Mm.
I've actually had a miscarriage and that hit me really bad.
Mm.
My baby passed away inside me at 12 weeks, and came out a full fetus, and that was hard.
Mm.
So I do want to have children someday. I've been more open about that particular story in the past maybe 2 years. This was like 4 or 5 years ago that I lost this child. But I've been more open about it in the past, like I said, like 2 years or so, because I think it's very empowering to speak about it. And I don't want people to feel sorry for me or have sympathy, but I do want empathy. I do want people to understand, like, all that loving, positive, happy, she's a great, all the things you said about me are me. But whew, you don't know what I've been through. You don't know what it's been like in this body. Even the advocacy of periods. There are sometimes, Rich, and I know you're a man, so excuse me for being so blunt with this, but like there are months where I can't even get up because it's so painful. It's so hard. So I do want to be a mom. I do want to have kids. And I know it's going to be painful. It's going to be hard. So I take these experiences that I've had, whether tragic, sad, or difficult to go through, as training. And I'm a firm believer that, God will have that happen when it's the time. And to be quite frank with you, I write about some of those things, even in my book. And I want people to know that this is who I am. This is a part of me. And you can still see the light. You can still be a light to someone else. Can you imagine if I would have just stayed down in the dumps after that, miscarriage? I wouldn't be the person I am today. If I would have stayed down in the dumps when I was homeless with my family, wouldn't be the person I am today. There's been different experiences in my life that have molded me into who I am. And I feel like with every tribulation, there's a rise, there's always a rise. That's why I love the water. I love the beach. The beach is my happy place. Because even when I look at the waves, it don't stop. It's going to crash at the front, and then it's going to recede, and then crash again, and then recede, and then crash again. And then the crashes are different. Sometimes it's a soft crash. Sometimes it's a big crash. So I relate a lot to waves and things like that. And even, with Glitter, I take her everywhere. I take great care of her. She made me, even though, she's a dog, she made me more responsible. She made me start paying attention to my diet and walking and actually going out for fresh air. Now I have to, because I have to walk her.
Yeah.
But up until I walked her, there was a part of my community that I never even knew existed. Like, I never seen it. I'm like, dang, this been here all this time. And it was just a nice little pathway of a garden for you to walk your pet. But it's also just a sidewalk for you to walk. And I've never even seen it. So having her made me more responsible and more, what's the word I'm looking for? More responsible and more aware of the things around me. So I do want kids. I love kids. I'm great with kids. My first job ever, actually, fun fact, I was a babysitter. So I was like, I called it Frankie babysit 1, 2, 3. So, because I'll be at your door in 1, 2, 3. That was the concept, right? I was like 12 when I came up with that. So babysit 1, 2, 3 was something that kind of led me into even teaching, right? And being an educator. I used to like sit my dolls down and teach my dolls and hey, Barney. And Barney would like raise his hand. And that's how I used to play, and I wasn't an only child. I grew up with an older brother, a younger brother. And as the only girl, though, in the house, because I have an older sister, but she didn't really live in the house. She's like 14 years older than me. So as the only girl in the house, I kind of had to find my way. And I did play with Barbies, but I also play with Legos. I also play with Hot Wheels. My little brother is like my son. Because my parents are in our lives, but like I raised him, like I taught him how to walk, how to eat, how to talk, his ABCs, his numbers. So I know that when God does give me the child that I know that I want, I'm going to be a phenomenal parent. And if it's not in my cards to have him naturally, I'm still going to be a phenomenal parent on whatever decision I make.
So 2 things. First off, we got to give a round of applause because she doesn't look a day over 23, and you keep throwing these years out there. And I'm like, damn, you know what I'm saying? You older than 23? You know what I'm saying?
But I just turned 30 in June.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Welcome to the club.
Right. Third floor feel different. Hey. Feel different up here.
And so, question number 2, or not question number 2, but statement number 2 is, you just went over your entire story, the goods, the bads, the ups, the downs. What's one thing, because you will have kids, I'm almost determined for you, you will.
Oh, thank you.
What's one thing you would want to say to your future child?
Believe in your dreams and execute on your visions. Believing and hoping and dreaming is great, but it's nothing without the execution part. Execute on your vision. You want to play that flute? You need to join the band. I don't want to join the band. Well, I guess you ain't going to learn the flute. Can't have a dream of being something that you're not applying yourself for. I want to open up my own business. Okay, I want to be like Jeff Bezos. Take a business course. But I don't like school, Ma. I don't know what to tell you. Find a mentor. Something. Something has to be the thing that allows you to execute. You can be creative all you want. You can dream all you want. You can vision board and manifest and all of that. That's all great. But there's no juju. You got to put in the work. So I would definitely say believe in your, and that's another thing too, is that like the keywords there are believe and execute. When you believe, it's going to happen. I always said I'm going to have my own talk show. I'm going to have my own talk show. I'm going to have my own talk show. Red Light TV is a thing. I'm going to have my own network. I'm going to have my own network. I'm going to have my own network. I ain't got the network yet, but I got a YouTube, right? Little steps, right? I'm going to have my own book. I'm going to be a published author. I'm going to be a published author. Bam. Made it happen. You know what I'm saying? So no matter what I said I was going to do, I've always done it. And one thing I didn't know I was going to end up in, I didn't know I was going to end up in public relations. I'll tell you that. I'm used to being in front of the camera or being the face or being, my likeness is usually what is utilized to push a brand. And so to end up in public relations where you are doing it for someone and the attention's on them, but you're making them popping in the background, right? Introducing them to people, bringing them to different types of networking opportunities or connecting dots, right? There's something that I think that is really great about you. Let me connect you to this client, right? I never thought I would be doing that. And I think that this career has allowed me to appreciate all of the different parts of me because there's so many different parts of me. And I'm able to embrace all the different parts of me. My parents have always embraced it. So I will do that part that my parents did for me. I will continue to be a supportive parent to my child as long as same rule applies. It's something positive. But believing in your dreams is so important. And executing on your vision is how you make that how you make that dream come to life.
And so I want to play devil's advocate on that. I love everything that you're saying. And, I'm heavy into psychology and of course, attractive mindset, the law of attraction. And it wasn't until like a couple of years ago that I actually made the discerning factor that belief only happens when you're not 100% about something. And so I believe in this, or I believe that this person's going to do that. Or when you say, do you know anything about this? I believe it's that way. You're not 100% about it, but belief gets dismissed when execution appears. And so when you absolutely know that something is going to happen, it's like, hey, you're going to be a doctor. You're going to do well. You're going to do this. And so taking out that word belief cements a lot more mentally. You have the studies of Carnegie of Institute of Technology. Yes, it's technology, but y'all can look them up. Carnegie Institute of Technology, 85% of businesses are run, or do better financially based off of their personality and their thought process. 15% of success is actually technical. And so, when I break things down to people, I'm like, you don't really need to know your industry that well. How well are you? How well do you know yourself? How well can you put yourself out there? And so, that word believe is the only reason I said that. But what I also want to, caveat from you is you mentioned that you have a book. Everything that you have, what can people expect from this book? What do you want them to mainly take from this?
So, my book, first off, is it's a lyric book and an interactive journal, right? So again, embracing all those parts of me. It's a little bit of everything in there. You'll find amazing photography, images of me, either with an aesthetic that you probably have never seen me in before. I have black hair, straight black hair. That never happens because you only know me like this, So you can find elements of creativity. You can find parts of my vulnerable actual story, right? So I speak about heartbreak. I talk about racism and social injustice, which is the first poem I ever wrote, is the last poem in my book. I kind of took y'all like on a backwards journey. It actually goes also with the album that I have out. Make sure you stream it, okay? Red Wordz on all platforms. Red Wordz with a Z. And I created the book in order of the album. So it's audiobooking done musically. That was the concept. I want people to purchase this book and take a journey with me on their own journey. Now, the second part of that, like I said, it's a lyric book and an interactive journal. That interactive journal part that's the sauce, right? So I give you 2 different exercises in between all of the different poems. So there'll be an exercise that is a journal entry, right? So I ask you a question and you'll reflect and kind of take a journey with me. Then after you read the poem, then I give you a poem challenge for you to write your own poem. So it'll be a title with red words and like a word bank. And you have to use these words in your poem. And here, I'll open one and show you an example. Here's one, right? All the way at the end. This one's called Wake Up, right? So I give you the actual title, right? Which says Wake Up right here. Then I give you these words for you to make a poem with. So the words are inequality, opportunity, government, marginalized, transgressions, freedom, liberty, and plight. You have to use each of those words throughout your poem, however you want to use them, right? And then I also give you tips along the way. So it's to help you become a poet. So the tip here, it's called the Frankie Tale tip. It says, write from the perspective of the change you'd like to see in the world. So if you're not a poet, it's your opportunity to become the poet.
I like
so
that.
There's Become the Poet pages, and then there's writing pages with journal entry. So I'll read you a journal entry example. This one, so there's the Become the Poet, and then there's the Write Your Truth pages. I also fully designed this book myself.
I like that.
So as a graphic designer, I take great pride in this work. Shout out to Positivity Pays, nonprofit organization, who actually was the publishing firm for this. So here is, I'll read you this prompt, right? Have you ever been betrayed by someone close to you that you considered family? Did you rekindle that friendship?
Nope.
If so, so you're already answering, right? So you already have a premise of how to begin to write. If so, describe how you overcome the strains of your relationship. If you didn't make amends, because I gave both, how would you have changed the outcome? This is the conflict resolution me.
I'd have fought him.
Oh, God. Violence, right? And so the Frankie Tale tip on this one to guide you, right? Your pages are your canvas. Your pen is your paintbrush. And you are the artist. Write a masterpiece.
No, that's dope. I like that.
So it's not just, hey, guys, read my poems. It's, hey, guys, read my poems. Understand where I was and the mindset. Write your own journal entry. And then now, once you're done with that, read another poem and boom, create a poem. So it's read a poem, or excuse me, it's write a journal, read a poem, write a poem. Write a journal, read a poem, write a poem. And every journal entry is in relation to what that journal entry, or excuse me, what that poem was about. So for example, that journal entry I just wrote to you, I already know that's from Sisterhood. That poem, Sisterhood, I wrote a letter to all my foes. Any bitch I don't like, that poem was for her ass, right? So, and it's a real gutter poem, right? But I've been betrayed by women. And so I wanted to, what you said, I wanted to beat this bitch ass. I mean, she disrespected me and slandered my name so bad on the internet. I all I wanted to do was smash her face in, right? Because that's all I know is fighting. So my boyfriend at the time told me, don't do that. Put it in your poem. I said, bro, are you crazy? And she was a poet too. So I was like, you know what? That's the best thing I could do because she's a poet too. So I wrote a poem and I wrote certain things that I know if she's in the crowd, she gonna know I'm talking to her. Genius. That poem, Sisterhood, became one of my, till this day, it's a crowd favorite. People request that poem when I go out, when I come out, because it's so true. And it has happened to every single person. And it's called Sisterhood because it's based on, sisters betraying each other. It's supposed to be a sisterhood, but we acting like sisters in the hood. Right? So we're demolishing each other. When we think of a hood, a ghetto, right? It's negative, it's bad, there's violence, there's crime, there's drugs, there's sex. You think about these bad connotations. And so it's a double entendre on the concept of sisterhood, but really like you acting like a sister in the hood and the hood in a negative light. So the poem speaks to the pain that I felt from that and how it was a fuck you poem. It's a fuck you poem. That's the poem with the most profanity, right? This book is not for children. I do have a children's version that I am coming out with because I do teach. And I still teach the lessons. Just I don't go through all of the poems.
Gotcha.
And honestly, that's the one poem like that in the whole damn book. So because of that one poem, I need a parental advisory like on the album. But the poem, again, it's so honest. It's so blunt. And the purpose is for you to be able to relate because you were able to answer that question. So now when you're writing your journal entry and you go to read that poem, you're like, dang, now I understand what Frankie went through, And it's not about me. It's your journey through my book. I'm just the catalyst. I'm just a tour guide. You know what I'm saying? Taking you on this journey. And because I designed the book myself, every page, the font, the color, everything was intentional. Yes. I even took into consideration color theory, color psychology into some of these things. When you see this book immediately, it's like
calming.
Yeah. Like it brings attention, but it's soothing at the same time. You know what I'm saying? And immediately when you open it up and you're looking for where do I want to start, you don't have to even go in order, but if you want to listen to the album, you're going to want to go in order. So it's really dope. I've had people tell me they purchased the book, they listen to the album, they pause it, they go back to read it, they underline things that stood out to them. Then when they do the entry, they'll try to do it to like the instrumental.
Fully interactive experience.
Yes. Okay. And that's why it's an interactive journal.
And so, just one last question or one last thing is around the art of expression. What's one key piece of advice you would have to young females trying to learn how to express themselves better?
One key advice to young females to express themselves better. Say what you mean and mean what you say. A lot of times we do say what we mean because we're talking English. We're not talking broken, right? But we don't always mean what we say. When you don't mean what you say, your words are blank. Your words have no meaning. The question you asked me earlier about the male-dominated industry, right? That's a perfect example. Oh, that scared me. Like, whoa. What's going on? The question that you asked me earlier about, being in a male-dominated industry, that to me is where that quote fits. Because I say what I mean, and I mean what I say. So when I have to talk to a man, or I have to talk to anybody, but specifically a man, I need them to understand I mean business. I am a pretty girl. I don't want to sleep with you.
Mm.
I am very kind. I don't want to go on a date. I have a hard time saying no because I don't want to hurt your feelings. Please don't put me in a tough situation or a tough spot. So when you say what you mean, and then you mean what you say, it can never be confused. I'm a natural flirt. So everybody think I like them. Like them. And it's like, no, that's just my personality, right? Even if I find you attractive, you wouldn't know until I actually say I like you because I'm treating the ugly guy right next to you the same way. You know what I'm saying? And I treat ugly people kinder because I feel like they have it bad already. You know what I'm saying? So I do my extra part and be look at he's like, there's no way she just said that out loud. But I do. They already got it bad. So I give them a little extra love. But so now all the people that I'm like super kind to are like, so you think I'm ugly? That's why you're so nice to me. You think I'm ugly? No. But I say that because as women, we're already misunderstood. Especially if you're a female Gemini. I'm just saying, you're going to be misunderstood. But no, if you're a woman, we're already misunderstood. And to really stick to your message and to really have people connect with what your purpose is or what you're trying to do or what you're trying to accomplish, whatever it is, that's important as a woman because you're going to get judged based off of other factors. Even the whole childbearing thing. People know I'm married to my career. And if too many people know that, then they think I'm not family oriented. You know what I'm saying? Or they think that my values are different or I don't value family or I'm not going to understand when they're running late because their kid had to be dropped off at daycare and the teacher wasn't there on time to open up the preschool. So now you're 2 hours late to work, but you had to sit outside of a parking lot because the preschool ain't open. I can't relate, but I can understand. So I just want that same thing in reverse. When I'm running late because my dog is sick, don't tell me, well, it's just a dog. No. Because I'm not saying, well, that's just your child. I would never say that, right? So it's meaning what you say. That part is the part that matters. When I tell someone anything, like my word is bond. And I really execute on my word. People believe in me and trust what I say because I don't give them too much room to sway me. You know what I'm saying? Like I kind of trap you into understanding these are the parameters of our agreement or these are the parameters of our conversation. I love to wrap. I do like a wrap up after every conversation. It's like, all right, so dot 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 dot. So there's no confusion. Whether that's tasks, deliverables, things I was being held accountable for, things that I'm holding you accountable for. So it's like in conclusion, thus. You know what I'm saying? So I'm a real thusser. I like to summarize things so we all have an understanding.
That's 2 words now. You got Utanian and thusser.
And thusser. Yes, I'm a thusser. But yeah, women, definitely that. Say what you mean and mean what you say. It's going to be how people take you seriously. And I think that's a common question that women get is like, do you feel like people take you seriously? It's like... Yeah, I take myself seriously. So whether I'm a woman or a man, and also that's also actually why my name is Frankie. My real name is Francesca. Frankie is short for Francesca, but Frankie is a male name. And so when you see my name on the roster, and when I say the roster, that could be on a program, a run of show, or anything. Yeah, you're expecting a man, and then you get this real bubbly, positive, radiant personality, curly hair. It's like I'm all the stereotypes of something happy. You know what I'm saying? Shirley Temple, curly hair, happy little girl. You know, my voice is raspy. I'm always smiling. I have very positive tattoos. You know, my favorite word is love. My favorite shape is a heart. So it makes sense. It's on brand, but I say what I mean and I mean what I say and I put that out. So that's how people are going to gravitate to you. That's how people are going to trust you. And more importantly, that's how people are going to believe you.
Amazing. Frankie, thank you so much for coming on and just being vulnerable, sharing your story. You know, I didn't do any research before this and, you know, just having a conversation with you, just an authentic conversation and genuinely interested in just finding out more about you. You know, that's what I want to, you know, create that kind of environment here and to just have a conversation. We've lost the art of just talking to people.
Absolutely.
We so developed in our phones, or just not even going out anymore. When we go out, it's to get drunk or whatever. There's no more just connection on just a friend level. People,
Mhm.
if they want to connect nowadays in person, it has to be for a favor, or it has to be for a benefit to them, or whatever the case is. But yeah, it's just that portion of it. And so thank you so much for just sharing your story, for just being vulnerable, for just being you, the words that you gave, the wisdom that you gave, just lining everything up to make sense. And just where can people find you?
You can find me at Frankie Red Wordz on Instagram, TikTok. I need to do more TikToks as an influencer. I know I need to. Godly, saying it out loud was like, oof. But yes, you can find me on Instagram. You can find me on YouTube at Red Wordz. My website is www.redvolution.red. Yes, .red is the domain. But it's Redvolution. So basically spell revolution, then go in front of the V and just drop a D in there for me. Redvolution. Join the Redvolution. And then, of course, on Facebook, come and like my page, like some of my poems. And I do post performances, shows, bookings, business advice. All parts of me are on all my social media accounts. People always try to advise me, like, open up a page for this and open up a page for that. No, it's all one me. So you can find me all in one place. Frankie Red
Amazing.
Wordz on everything.
And so if you DM us exclusively only on this interview, if you DM us Red Wordz, you got to make it to this. You can scroll to the end. I don't care what you do. For the first 3 people that do it, we're going to give you a book from Frankie's book. You know what I'm saying? And so DM her, DM us when you watch the episode. Make sure you tune in. And this is Moneybag Rich. And you know what we always say: we look good, we live good, life is good. Talk to us, we talk back, and we out of here.